Most people think we get married because of burning passion, or maybe because society tells us it is time. But if I am being honest with you, at 26, I didn't care about any of that. I loved my freedom. I loved the idea of answering to no one. But you know what? Freedom, when you have it entirely to yourself, starts to taste a lot like loneliness. The real reason I wanted to build a family wasn't found in a romantic movie moment. It was found in a bowl of soup on a cold Tuesday night. Let me take you back to December of 1990. I was living in a small, drafty apartment just outside the city. It was that time between Thanksgiving and Christmas, when the whole world seems to be gathering together, except for you. Outside, the snow was piling up against the window pane. Inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. I was 26 years old. I was working hard, trying to prove myself, chasing money and success. My fridge was mostly empty, just a few beers and some leftover takeout. I told myself I was living the dream. I was independent. But deep down, every time I turned the key to enter that dark, empty apartment after work, I felt a heavy weight in my chest. No one was waiting for me. No one cared if I was home or not. That week, I got sick. It wasn't anything life-threatening, just a bad flu. But for a single man living alone, a flu can feel like the end of the world. I lay on my old couch, shivering under a thin blanket, sweating and freezing at the same time. The apartment was freezing. I was thirsty, but the kitchen felt like it was miles away. I remember staring at the ceiling, watching the shadows from the streetlights move across the plaster. I felt pathetic. I thought, if something happens to me right now, no one would even know until Monday morning. That vulnerability scared me more than the fever. Then there was a knock on the door. It was Sarah. We were just dating casually back then. She had heard I wasn't feeling well. She didn't come in wearing a fancy dress or bringing expensive gifts. She came in wearing a thick winter coat, her nose red from the cold, carrying a grocery bag. She didn't say much. She just walked into my messy kitchen, turned on the stove, and started making soup. The sound of a spoon clinking against a pot, the smell of chicken broth filling that cold, stale room, the sound of her humming a quiet tune while she worked. In that moment, lying there watching her back as she stood by the stove, something inside me shifted. The apartment didn't feel cold anymore. The silence wasn't scary anymore. It was peaceful. I realized that I didn't want a trophy wife to show off to the world. I didn't just want a lover. I wanted this. I wanted someone who would turn on the light when my world got dark. I wanted someone to witness my life, the boring parts, the sick days, the rainy Tuesdays. I realized that independence is great, but interdependence, having someone to lean on, is what makes us human. Sarah sat on the edge of the couch and fed me that soup. It wasn't the best soup in the world, but it tasted like home. And right there, between a fever and a spoonful of broth, I made up my mind. I was going to marry this woman, not because she was beautiful, though she was, but because she made me feel safe. So, to all the young men listening, don't look for the woman who only wants to party with you on Friday nights. Look for the woman who shows up on a Tuesday when you have nothing to offer but a fever and a cold room. That is where a real family begins. I told you about the warm bowl of soup that melted my heart. I told you about the moment I asked Sarah to be my wife. It sounds like a happy ending, doesn't it? The credits should have rolled right there. But life isn't a movie. After the yes, reality sets in. You know, there is a very specific kind of silence that haunts a man right before his wedding. It's not the silence of peace. It's the silence of a closing door. Between the engagement and the wedding day, a ghost visited me. It wasn't the fear of being poor anymore. It was something far more terrifying. It was the sudden, suffocating realization that I was about to say goodbye to Paul the individual, forever. Let's go back to the spring of 1991. I was 27. I was packing up my bachelor apartment to move into the small rental house Sarah and I had chosen. The room was a maze of cardboard boxes and packing tape. The air smelled of dust and old memories. I remember picking up my old leather duffel bag from the back of the closet. That bag, it had seen everything. It had oil stains from when my car broke down in Arizona. It had scratches from a camping trip in the Rockies where I slept under the stars alone. I held that bag in my hands, and I felt a physical ache in my chest. I thought to myself, is this it? Am I packing away my adventures into these cardboard boxes? Will I ever just get in a car and drive west without asking for permission again? I sat on the floor, surrounded by half-packed boxes, and for the first time in years, I wanted to cry. Not out of sadness, but out of a feeling of loss. I felt like I was attending the funeral of my own youth. 3 weeks before the wedding, the panic hit its peak. It was a Friday night. My friends had taken me out for a few drinks. They were laughing, joking about the old ball and chain, making bets on how long until I got a dad bod. They meant well, but every joke felt like a tightening noose around my neck. I left the bar early. I told them I was tired, but I wasn't. I was suffocating. I got into my car. It was raining, a light, misty rain that made the streetlights blur. I started the engine, but I didn't drive home. I drove to the highway on-ramp. I sat there, the engine idling, the blinker clicking, click, clack, click, clack, like a countdown. The highway sign pointed west, total freedom. I had a full tank of gas. I had cash in my wallet. I could just go. I could disappear for a week, a month, maybe forever. My heart was hammering against my ribs. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I was terrified of the commitment I had made. I was terrified of failing her and terrified of losing myself. I didn't turn onto the highway. Instead, I turned the car around and drove to my father's house. It was late, past 10 p.m. My dad was sitting on his front porch, just watching the rain. He was a man of the old generation, stoic, a veteran, a man who didn't talk about feelings. He saw me walking up the driveway, soaking wet, looking like a ghost. He didn't say a word. He just kicked out the empty chair next to him. We sat in silence for a long time, just the sound of the rain and the smell of his pipe tobacco. Finally, he spoke. His voice was gravelly and low. "Cold feet?" he asked. I nodded, staring at my boots. "I feel like I'm making a mistake, Dad. I feel like I'm walking into a cage. Is that terrible?" Dad took a long drag from his pipe. He didn't get angry. He didn't lecture me about responsibility. He said, "Paul, look at that oak tree in the yard." I looked. It was huge, standing firm against the wind. "You think that tree is trapped because it can't move?" he asked. "That tree has roots, deep roots. Because it stays in one place, it can grow tall. It can shelter birds. It can withstand the storm. He turned to look at me, his eyes softening. Son, you aren't losing your freedom. You are trading freedom for freedom to. Freedom from responsibility is easy. Any child has that. But freedom to build something that outlasts you, that takes a man. Marriage isn't a cage, Paul. It's the soil where you put down your roots. Trading freedom for freedom to. That sentence saved me. I drove home that night. I unpacked that old leather bag. I didn't throw it away, but I put it on the top shelf. I realized I wasn't saying goodbye to adventure. I was just choosing a co-pilot for the journey. 30 years later, the freedom of being single seems so small compared to the life Sarah and I built. The roots we planted are deep now. And Dad was right. When the storms of life came, and believe me, they came, those roots were the only thing that kept me standing. So, if you are out there, standing on the edge of a big commitment, feeling like you want to run, take a breath. Don't look at what you are giving up. Look at what you are about to grow. Thank you for listening to my story. This is Paul. Good night and sleep well.